for free. Tell me how else you can support a younger musician. And he said, just use. As a matter of fact, he came with the equipment with his car. Now, that was a gesture, but it wasn't just a gesture to me. To me, it was a seed. Because he was telling me, I'm giving you a responsibility. He gave me equipment, but it was not a equipment I saw. I saw a responsibility to also help other people coming behind me. So, you need to understand that whatever you do, I said it earlier on, we're building a system. Whatever you do now, you only get 20% of the result of the result of what you do now. You only see 20% now. Most of what you will do is later in the future. So I want to appreciate him for accepting to speak this very first edition of TCM. Thank you so much, sir, for coming. I appreciate your love, your mentorship, your guidance. I don't want to talk too much. That's why I'm making it simple. If I start talking, I don't want to talk about how many people you know up there that grew up under Dr. TJ, that he mentored. I don't want to, if I say this, if I say something, some of you will say I'm lying. But I know what I'm saying. He's an amazing personality. He's a lover of people, very simple lifestyle, very easygoing, accepts everyone. I mean, you're not clapping, just one person. It's our privilege to host him. I'll still read out his profile. It's our privilege to host him on the first edition. Now, he said he's not just coming to be a host. He is in this full time. That's what he told me. He's in this full time. Sorry, not just coming to be a speaker. That he will be in this full time. It's a huge privilege. I'm just trying to bring up his profile. I have to read that. All right. It's okay if you celebrate yourselves. Yeah. All right. Papa Tunji Dada, commonly referred to and addressed by friends and associates as Pastor TJ or Dr. TJ, was born into the family of Pastor Chief and Mrs. S.O. Dada in the city of Ibadan. He had his primary and secondary education in Akure, Ondo State in the southwest of Nigeria. He thereafter proceeded to the University of Ibadan for his first degree in computer science. 17 years after his graduation, his love and passion for music took him back to school for a formal study and certification. This decade-long academic journey culminated into a doctorate degree in musicology from the University of Lagos. He worked for many years as a professional musician in the area of sound studio, installation, maintenance and management, music production, live sound reinforcements, installations, performance, and training. During these years, he oversaw the production and arrangement of many musical albums and several other professional music projects. In addition to his professional activities, he currently holds a position as a lecturer at the Department of Music, University of Ibadan. His roles in the ministry started in his early teens when he took the position of the local church organist at his parents' church, the Christ Apostolic Church, Oketura, Akure. He functioned in this role for 5 years until his admission into the University of Ibadan. While at the university as an undergraduate, he enthusiastically plunged himself into several musical activities on campus, where he played roles as an organist of the university chapel, member of the university choir, and fellowship keyboardist, among several others. It was during this period that he discovered his purpose and calling as a minister of the gospel, not just a church musician. His foundations in ministry and service were laid through vivid personal encounters with his Lord and Savior. After graduation, in In line with what he believed the Lord will have done in service to the kingdom, he took up a full-time engagement as the choir coordinator at the ever-increasing Word Ministries, aka Rema Chapel, Oluwatobi, Ibadan. In his 10-year service in this ministry, he was privileged to serve in many capacities, which included the music director, music minister, youth pastor, and member of the board of ministers. He presently serves as an associate minister at the Nations Light Ministries Ibadan. He's married to Omo Labake Dada, and they are blessed with children. Please and please, can we give a standing ovation as we welcome the mentor and the great legend, Dr. Tunji. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Please have your seat. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate the honor and I appreciate the privilege to stand before you today. And when Mr. Tobi was reading the profile, I wasn't comfortable. Like, I'm among my people now. I'm not only like one day, just one day. Seriously, I felt, they freed me. But I appreciate the privilege to be here. And I'm happy that we have this opportunity among ourselves to interact, to encourage one another. I want to thank especially Mr. Tobi, a good brother and a good friend. When he was saying all the things he felt I did for him, I was just smiling inside. He's been wonderful, he's been supportive too in his own way, and I appreciate it greatly. I'm happy also to see Mr. Tobi here. I've not seen for a while. We've known from way back. God bless you, good to see you. Mr. Jimmy Wright, pleasure to meet you. I'm sure we'll get to interact more and discuss. All right, thank you everybody. Again, I say good to see you. And I say good, is it morning already? Still morning?
Still morning.
I say good morning. You know, I told Mr. Tobi yesterday when he sent me the address of this place. I've not been here before. I said, please send me the address so I can know where the program is going on. Guess what? This is the street where I grew up.
You can imagine.
I lived on this street from January 1998. I met my wife here. In fact, I got married when I was on this street, just 2 hours away there. And I moved out of this place January 2004.
Wow.
So when I got on this street, memory just came back. I've not been here since then. I just started having memory, nostalgia. I'm like, wow, there must be a reason why I'm back here today. Very interesting experience. Bros, how you doing? How now? Good to see you. All right, let me just go straight to what I am here to do. I've been told that I'm going to be speaking, and I've been given the direction to go. I've been told I'm going to be speaking on what is titled Transition. Transition. So the first question I ask myself is, what is transition? What does it mean to transit? And basically, transition is moving from one stage to the other. When you go from a stage and you go to another one, what you have done is you have transited. You have moved from one stage or state or condition to another one. There are actually two types of transition. There is the one that is positive and that is more desirable. There's the other one that is negative. I believe that our desire, our prayer, our goal is for the positive one. Abi? I'm not speaking for all of us. Nobody wants to transit from a place to a worse place. All of us want to move forward. All of us wants to grow. And I want to believe that the reason why we're here is because we also have personal convictions about transiting to something better. We want to improve. The Bible says iron sharpens iron. We want to be sharper. That's why we are here. That's why we are mingling. That's why we are interacting. Because let me interact with people like myself, people with like passion, people with similar drives and goals, so that I can be better. So that their iron will sharpen my iron. When you are sharper, you are better. When you are sharper, you are more useful.
When you are sharper, you are more efficient. So I believe that the reason why all of us are here is because we desire that positive transition. Positive as in moving into something better than where we are. I'm going to be putting this into the context of the peculiarity of who we are. I believe we are all musicians. We are all gifted in and involved in one area of the music or the other. And I'm going to be putting this in that context. And also, we're going to have time for question and answers, where I believe we can learn from one another. I don't have to be the lecturer in quote. Here, you can have a question, somebody can have an answer to it. And I believe all of us can learn from one another. And like my brother Tunji shared with me, that's the purpose. The purpose for this vision, the purpose for this platform, is that we encourage one another, is that we learn from one another. It's like I said, it's that our iron will sharpen each other's iron. So, I have 60 minutes. I didn't even check the time I started. Please, what's the time now? 12 on the dot? Is it 12 on the dot?
Yeah, 3 minutes to 12.
Okay, let's assume I started like, let's assume I started 10 minutes to 12. Okay, so that's the idea. I want us to have time whereby we discuss and learn from one another. Okay. Like I said, we can simply assume that we are all looking for that positive transition. And in this sense, it speaks of movement. It speaks of progress. Progress. I've met a lot of people that are into music, like myself. People that do what I do. And the question that most people ask is, how do I progress? Especially when people have a feeling that they've reached a point of stagnation. They're just like, maybe I've been circling this mountain for a while. So how do I progress? How do I move forward? How do I take my craft to the next stage? How do I, step forward? How do I, my talent, what do I do with it? How do I move basically to another stage? How do I do that which is called forward motion? Interestingly, that feeling is very natural. Now, when we talk about transition, there's something also very close to transition, which I call growth. Growth is very similar to transition. Can somebody help me? What do you think would be the difference between growth and transition? Let's think about it. Anybody? Like I said, this is an interaction. Let's learn from one another. If we say growth, if we say transition, what do you think would be the similarity or the difference between the two? Anybody? Think about it. Transition and growth. Thank you very much. Please tell us your name. Okay.
I think the major similarity between the two is just change. Okay, actually,
they both involve changing from one state to the other.
Okay, that's the main difference. But when
difference or similarity?
The similarity.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
The similarity. I think that's the main.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now he's talking about similarity. Like in a sense, both of them imply changing from one state to the other. Does anybody also have any idea about that? Or what do you think will be the difference? Thank you. Let's do gender sensitivity here. A lady. Please tell us your name.
My name is Dabula.
Okay.
Growth is irreversible, but transition can be reversible. Because you can progress, you can digress.
Okay, thank you very much. I love that. That's big. Growth is irreversible. Is growth actually reversible? Yeah. Growth in a way implies the kind of transition that you are not likely to go backwards. Most times growth is forward. It's like an enlargement. It's like we are moving, progressing to another stage. You don't grow, you're not likely to grow downwards. I love that. I love that dimension. Anybody? I saw a hand there the other time. Anybody? Okay, thank you very much. Please tell us your name.
My name is Joshua.
Okay.
Yeah, in transition you can grow.
Okay. In transition, you can grow.
Growth happens in transition.
Growth happens in transition. Okay, thank you very much. That's another dimension. Growth happens in transition. Okay, somebody else?
My name is Levi.
Okay.
What I wrote here is growth is a process.
Growth
Is a process.
Okay.
Why transition is an outcome of growth.
Transition is an outcome. Wow. There are a lot of philosophers here. Musicians are philosophers. I love that. Growth is a process, whereas transition is the outcome of the growth. So the result we see when you grow is a transition. Very good. I love that. That's very deep. Anybody else with something? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Festus. I would like to say that for transition and growth, I think the similarity is that there's a development. But transition gets to be like a larger, a broader scope than growth. So for every transition, there's growth, there's continuous growth.
For every transition,
there's a continuous growth.
Okay.
Like before you move to the next class, you've gone through classes every day. So initially you are going to class, you are growing. But at a point, the school says, okay, you are satisfied. You can transit to the next class.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. I think I can draw some parallel between what you said and what the other friend of mine said. That's good. Let's make it one word. Okay, I think we can move on from there. There are two beautiful things I got there that I want us to put, kind of register in our heart. First of all, like one of us said, growth implies a kind of a forward motion. Let's take a human being, for example. They're not likely to grow backwards. In fact, when you say grow, you're already implying that the thing is moving forward, right? But when you say transition basically is moving from one state to another. Transition is binary. In its outlook, and it's binary. It's like, I love what that brother said. He said it's like my sister. Sorry, she said I think you are the one that said growth is a process, right? Yeah, growth is like a process. It's not. It doesn't show all of a sudden. It's something that takes a while. It's something like it's a process. It works in a way behind the scene. But transition is more abrupt. You understand what I'm saying? When you transit, like the example one of us gave, moving from one class to the other, that's a transition. It's like transit. And when you transit, it's like a one-time movement to another thing. Now, in the context of our discussion today and what our goal, I would say it seems growth is more relevant to what we want to talk, or what we want, what our desire is, and what we are looking at. We are looking at growth. How do we grow? How do I grow? In my craft, in the expression of my gifts, how do I grow? What can I do to take my the language they say, how do I take my game to the next level? I've had this question many times. I've had friends, I've had associates talk to me, ask me questions, say, what really do I do? What do you think is the right step to do? I remember in my days in university, I had a friend, one of my friends that really, how would I call it? Looked up to me in terms of musicianship and performance, and always wanted to learn. He always wanted to, know new things. Say, hey, TK, show me that. What did you do there? Show me this one. Show me that one. And I remember one of those times I told him that, look, what you're asking me to show you exactly is not what you need. That's what I told him. I said, this is not what you need. I was telling him, instead of learning how would I call it? The act. I said, why don't you develop the capacity? Because this is one of the mistakes most of us make. People develop, they learn the act, the specific acts, without developing the capacity to deliver the act. Let me give a very practical example. I had this challenge with one of my keyboardists in church. And he kept on telling me, look, I don't understand what you're saying. I said, look, this is what I'm saying. And I use this example. I said, look, imagine you are learning a new language. Just imagine somebody is learning Yoruba now. And the person is fascinated with that language and he starts saying, just teach me the proverbs. I want to know the proverbs. You can take and they injure them. So when I throw them the proverb, they will say, hey, this guy is deep. I said, that's just the way it is. I said, look, you don't learn proverbs first. Proverbs is not the first thing you learn. You learn the language. You learn to combine your words. You learn simple expression. It is after you have known the very simple expression that you can communicate very well. Then you can start spicing up your communication with what? With proverbs. I said, the problem I see, I was telling that young man, this now since moved to Lagos. I said, the challenge I have with you is that your music performance is full of proverbs and you're not communicating. The people that can use proverbs words are the people that can communicate. You don't see somebody learning a language that you are harming yourself with proverbs first, with the very deep ones. Communicate, speak. When you speak, when you have learned the art of communication, in fact, the proverbs will start flowing after a while. So let me go back to that story of my friend in university there. He was not telling me, so teach me this. I said, look, that's not what you need. Learn the basic thing. Learn musicianship. Be able to speak with your music. Be able to communicate with your music. And he kept on saying this. Listen to this. He kept on saying, when I play a song, this is what he says. He said, when I play a song on the keyboard, and you play the same song, it doesn't sound the same.
Yes, sir.
And he says, it's not as if you use another chord. He said, it's when you do it, I'm always like, but I just did this thing and it didn't sound like this. Yours sounded different. And I kept on telling him, look, that is what I'm saying. Develop capacity. Be able to communicate. In fact, one of the basic things that a musician should learn is, how do I communicate with people? It's not about complexity. How do I say something simple and people will be getting, they'll be so convinced. They'll be so convinced that they will just say yes. In fact, what you have not said, we understand it. So the challenge people in that category had was that they were yearning for growth. But guess what? They were growing in the wrong direction. And that's what I always tell musicians. When you go in the wrong direction, it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem because once you put the cart before the horse, then you become deformed. You become deformed. You can't deliver. Anyway, that story of my friend, he became deformed eventually. Because after he had crammed all the jazz chords he knew, everything he could cram, he was learning proverbs. He crammed everything. He got to a stage, I didn't even know as much as he knew. I couldn't deliver, because I don't run after, teaching you chord. Those things don't shine. I am more concerned about how do I communicate with my music. And that is why I appreciate some musicians. I appreciate them so much. Each time I listen to this guy, Kobarus, I look at this guy and I say, wow, what talent. I can use that guy to explain what it means to communicate. This guy can excel English. It's not about skill. It's not about skill. It's not about how crazy. But when you hear him do something simple, you will get the message. And that's what musicianship is basically about. I needed to use that example so that I'm sure you guys must have encountered one with the other. The most critical thing is grow correctly. Don't grow abnormally. Look inwards. Ask yourself, what really do I need to develop my capacity as a musician? Growth is natural. Let's go back to growth. You know, growth is natural. What do I mean? When you give birth to a child, normally the child will grow. You may not need to really stress yourself in a sense. You don't need to be concerned about whether the child will grow or not. After a point in time, all the marks of growth will start manifesting in that child. After a time, the child will start sitting down. It's not about what you did, really. You get it? It's not really about what you did. After a while, the child will start walking. After a while, the child will start speaking. Growth is natural. So, if you get a point in what you do and you feel you start having that yearning to grow, you're actually responding to a very natural phenomenon, which is growth. And let me even say this. It now occurred to me that even naturally, it's like nature has provided the resources for us to grow, even as musicians.
Yes.
Did you notice that? To some extent, nature has provided resources and the conditions for you to grow. Look at this. Think back at when you started developing yourself and your craft as a musician. Just think about it. What you are doing is you are actually developing your inner self. I tell people something. Let me digress a bit. I tell people something. Music is one of the most difficult things to teach anybody. I keep asking, how do I teach you music? You can't. If you don't have it, nobody can teach you. Nobody can teach you. That is why you put two people side by side. You put them on an instrument, they start learning at the same time. But the outcomes will be very, very different.
Yes, sir.
Have you observed that?
Yes, sir.
What somebody did in 1 year, another person may take that other person 3 years to do it. Right? A musician that has performed, or if I be crazy thing now, you see a musician that has developed his craft over the years, over a lifetime, then you will see a 10-year-old child doing the same thing. Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the phenomenon of child prodigies? So how do you explain that? So the bottom line is, you can't teach anybody music. Music has to be you. Now let's assume that one way or the other by nature, God has placed that awareness, that gift, that knowledge of music in you. So when you start developing, basically you are just bringing what is inside of you out. That is why when you start, you really don't need a lot of effort to grow. You pick your bass guitar and you start playing. Meanwhile, all the things that you have acquired unconsciously, the knowledge that has been stored in you unconsciously, you start playing it out, right?
Yes.
You start singing. You are not just learning how to sing. All the knowledge, all the things that you have in you, you have acquired maybe by listening, maybe by exposure. What happens? Those things that are coming out. But guess what? Now let's talk about the point whereby growth slows down, which is the stage where most of us are. It gets to a point, growth is now no longer automatic. You now need to work it. You need to work it to break through some barriers. And I believe quite a number of us will be in that stage whereby you're like, okay, I have grown a bit now. Now I do this thing. But how do I go beyond this thing that I've done for a while that I'm tired of? I want to be better. I hear it. I can see it. But how do I break that ceiling? I'm going to share some ideas with you. And like I said, after this, we have some question and answers. And we can learn more from each other from there. So, here I want to tell you the practical steps to grow as a musician. Practical steps to grow as a musician. What are the practical steps you could take and say, you know what, I want to take my growth seriously? How do you go about it? The first one that I will say, that you will say, that one is obvious. It's actually the most difficult. The first one I will say is, You need to set a goal. Set a goal. I have had a lot of people, I have encountered a lot of people that say, you know what? I want to take my growth as a musician seriously. I want to work hard on my craft. I want to develop myself. I want to go beyond this level. And they say all manner of things. Guess what? It stopped at the talking. When you probe deeper, you discover that it was just mere talking. There is no root downstairs. And that's where the problem is. Now, this is not something that comes easy. You have to come to a point and say, you know what? I want to take my craft seriously. I'm ready to give what it takes. I'm ready to give the discipline that it takes. I'm ready to pay the price that it takes. I'm ready to pay the sacrifice that it takes. Until we get to that point, I'm afraid it may be the same story. Growth is not likely to occur. So the first question you ask yourself when you say, I want to grow, I want to grow, I want to get to that new height. The question each and every one of us should ask ourselves is, am I really ready? Can I actually pay the price? Which is the most important thing. Guess what? When most of us started out on an instrument, the passion, the zeal, most times a lot of people can sustain it. By the time the gratification of performance comes in, the gratification of, I'm there, I am doing it, and in a way that zeal reduces. And that zeal is the core. You still have the zeal. Can you still practice the way you practiced when you started? Can you still spend the number of hours you spend? I always ask myself that. The zeal with which one started, you ask yourself, do I still have that zeal? And I would say, if that zeal is not there, maybe you should look at some other thing and don't bother yourself so much. Because that's the most important thing. Do you have the zeal? Are you really ready? Are you really ready to sacrifice? At this level of growth, it takes a lot of sacrifice. It takes a lot of discipline. Can you put in the hours to practice? Can you put in the hours to learn new stuff? As in new stuff. Do you really have that desire, that strong passion for the new one? I think that's the first step. Number two. Well, the number two I have there is basically, I've mentioned it, are you ready to pay the price? Because it's going to take a price. It's going to cost you. It will take you time. You will spend time. Now you are busier, than that time. You have more responsibilities right now. There are more things going on, But the truth is, you still have to pay the price one way or the other. Can you really pay the price? Do you have that? Do you have that extra to give? Some of us are busier now, right? Hello? Some of us are busier. For some of us, family has entered. For some of us, we are not thinking about paying rent that time. Rent wasn't your problem. But the rent has entered. For some of us, other concerns, other social commitments are there.
School fees.
Thank you very much. School fees. School fees. When you look at the calendar alone, I remember yesterday my wife was telling me, they have almost finished first semester. I said, First semester? When did they enter? That one alone is enough to give me sleepless nights. You understand what I'm saying? So in essence, a lot of us have, grown busier, we've had our minds occupied. And I told a lady recently, she asked me, she said, you know what, I want to start learning. And she said, do you really believe, tell me the truth. She said, tell me the truth. Do you really believe I can learn this thing? I was put on the spot because I couldn't tell her a lie. You understand? I needed to tell her the truth, and at the same time, I needed to be objective and not discourage her. And I said, okay, you have a 2-year-old child. Say yes. I said, you can learn, but maybe you cannot learn as a child. The way a child is. He said, yes. And I said, let me give you an example. If we take you to China. And we take your 2-year-old child to China. That's a very simple example. I said, do you believe you can learn the language like yours? Can you match that child? She said, that would be difficult. I said, it's that. But why is it challenging? Simply because the mind of the child is very, very good. And that model should help us to know that at times to grow, to learn, the state of mind has to be in a state that is ready to learn.
Yes.
A state that is impressionable. And that's the challenge most of us have as adults. Our mind is so, like they say, you cannot bend crayfish. But our mind has to be. You have to have that mind that is ready and that is willing to. I say you can do it, but can you pay the sacrifice? It will cost a price. It will cost a price. So, first of all, make up your mind, set the goal. The second, be ready to pay the price. The price may not be something excessive. It may just be, just give 30 minutes. It may be something as simple as that. Just structure your time in such a way that give 30 minutes to hone that track, to oil that craft. Just oil it. At times, what is simply needed is regular oiling. And it continues to blossom. It continues to shine. You just need to oil it regularly. And it will not take a lot of time. But the point is, you have to be ready to pay whatever price it takes. Number 3. This factor is also very critical. That's the factor of mentorship. Mentorship. Most times we're never too old. I'm using old not in the sense of age, figure age. But in our craft and what we do, we're never too old to submit to mentorship. You're never too old. I was speaking to a friend and said, we have something doing together. In fact, two of my friends recently, we have something doing together. And they approached me and said, you know what? These are men that they are formed men, but they are also involved one way or the other. One of them, they are music directors, they are church players, and they still do it every time. And they still want to keep delivering value in what they do. They still want to be there. They are not ready to retire. Let me put it that way. They're not ready to retire. They still want to keep doing, they still want to keep giving. And both of them, at different times, suddenly asked me, saying, you know what? Can you still mentor me? Two of them, separately. Can you still mentor me? And I said, it's something I'll be glad to do if we can work out that arrangement. You understand? I said, well, I'll be willing and glad to do it. Some of us, a bit of mentoring will help us. And we should not be shy to submit ourselves to mentoring when we have the opportunity. You understand? Don't be shy to submit yourself to it. It's not about age, it's not necessarily about work status. When you know somebody that you know God has helped, really, in talent, in gift, in that craft, you can approach it. You can submit to mentoring. And it doesn't have to be one-on-one. It can also be remote mentoring. What do I mean by remote mentoring? You can be somebody you have never met before. Do you understand what I'm talking about? It doesn't have to be somebody you know. It can be somebody you have never met before. And your only contact with that person is through the person's maybe his recordings or works. And you can bury yourself in it. You can learn. You can imitate. Imitation is one of the best things to grow. Yeah, imitate. Do it like that. I love the way he phrased that line. And you keep doing it. Keep doing it. And it keeps getting better. And it keeps getting more and more beautiful. You understand what I'm saying? You shouldn't shy away from mentorship. We shouldn't get to that level and say, you know what? I don't need to. That is why, guess what? You can learn from a wide range of sources. You should not be discriminatory when it comes to learning. You can learn. You can learn. I was embarrassed when I interact with fellow musicians and they do something. I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. Can you show me what you did? They say, hey, they're making fun of me. Don't make fun of me, John. I'm not joking. And sincerely, it's not as if I'm joking. I'm like, wow, there was something there that you did that was really beautiful. I want to learn it. And they're like, they're making fun of me. No. And sincerely, I'm almost embarrassed when they do that because I was actually right. Because they may think, oh, this guy is more accomplished in what he does, somebody I learn from. He can also learn from you.
Sure.
He can also learn from you. And that's a fact. And I've always positioned myself in a way that I'm willing to learn. Teach me what you did. Let me also learn it. Let me add it to my wealth of, knowledge and experience. Teach me, Though it's usually challenging when it is somebody that considers himself or herself a mentee, but ultimately you can learn. You can open your heart. You can be free. Say, let me know what you did there. This is beautiful. And all that. Okay. Yes, I've said you must be ready and willing to learn from a wide range of sources. The last point I want to mention here before we go into the question and answer session is this. While I was thinking about this session, and in fact, I had finished preparing my note on what I wanted to share, and it just occurred to me that we are living in an age of information. What do I mean? We live in an age whereby, believe me, nobody has any excuse.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, nobody has any excuse. I don't know whether I have similar experiences with anybody here, in the sense that when we were developing and honing our craft in the 80s, in the early mid-80s, it was a jungle. It was when I mean it was a jungle, you were disconnected. You couldn't. In fact, when I think about that time, I keep wondering how humanity survived that. It's like you were isolated. I grew up in a city that wasn't very, very, huge then. I grew up in the city of Akure, and the foundation I had in developing myself as a musician, as a performer, was so rough that it was basically a jungle experience. We live in an age whereby absolutely there is information. Just pick up your phone. It's as simple as that. There is absolutely no excuse. There's absolutely no excuse. We have more resources, physical resources available. We have more virtual, in fact, the virtual resources are just crazy. We have social media that basically collapses the distance between you and anybody in the world. Basically, social media has made it such a way that technology and communication has made it such a way that there's no distance between you and anybody in the world. You are just there. When I entered university in 1989, as a young man I left home for the first time, one of the challenges I had was I wanted to connect with home. My parents were worried. Oh, you challenge he's not gone to university. Which I would never leave home. I've never left home before. The biggest challenge I had was how will I talk to them and let them know that I'm fine. We didn't have telephone at home. Fortunately, our neighbor had a landline. I'm not sure whether many of us remember it. I've seen that landline. That landline that you have to keep dialing like this. I will leave my hostel in UIM and we go to where we call maintenance. Each time I think and I will try and connect with our neighbor with the hope that my parents will be at home and they go and call them, say, what do you think about it? When I think about the challenges we had then, compared to the ease of communication today, the ease of access to information, access to resources. Look at Mr. Toby. He has a flourishing mentorship program. He has mentors all over the world, and they don't know him. They don't have to have seen him physically. You understand what I'm saying? Did they actually study his Facebook, YouTube channel? I'm like, This is impact. What else do you want? So we live in an age whereby we have a responsibility of making the best of the resources, and there are resources. There are resources. Let me tell you how ridiculous the time I developed was. Let me tell you how ridiculous it was. From the moment I started trying my hands on the black and white keys, from that moment, I never laid my eyes like this on anybody that could show me anything. Let me tell you, first of all, my dad entered my room one night because he sleeps the latest, so he goes around every room, checks that every door is locked, all the lights are off and all that. He now entered our room and he now saw me. I said, "What are you doing? Why are you not sleeping?" Because the light was on. What was I doing? I took I don't know whether you know these calendars. You know these old calendars? They were very, very common there. You know, phone and all these things, you don't care about those things. Then, all the banks, all the corporate bodies, at the end of the year, they will share calendars. So, when you go to most homes, you are going to find all these things hanging on the wall. Calendar of their working place, calendar of church, calendar, you will see it everywhere. So, I now took one of these old calendars. I turned the back. Meanwhile, in our school, there was a piano there. But the seniors must not catch you. If the seniors catch you in that piano, you're in trouble. So I took a ruler and I went to that piano. I skipped and I measured the width of the key. And that's why the width was 1 inch. If I had never measured it after that, it was 1 inch from here to here. The width, 1 inch. So when I got home, I took that calendar, I turned it upside down. The blank part. And I used my ruler to draw out, what do you call it? I draw yes, black and white, yes. So I now took small wood and I started learning to play. And on the blank paper. So my daddy opened the door in the night and he saw me and said, "What's wrong with you? What are you doing?" And I said, "Hey, and he said, 'Come on, go and sleep.'" You understand? And he took notes. My point is, that kind of a rough beginning is what marked how most of us, that generation, developed. They have no resources. My father couldn't afford to buy a keyboard. The church I was going, you can't even go there. You understand what I'm saying? When I look at today, when I look at my children and I'm begging them, "You guys play this thing, this acoustic piano, this electric keyboard, and this is daddy. Guys!" And they're like, I'm like, yeah. Apart from power supply, I have a solar system in my house. So the keyboard is to, I always tell them, when you finish, please switch it off. They don't switch it off. They just leave it on. So what I mean is, it's not a matter of a NEPA tube light. It is always on. If you try that with me, oh my God, I will have. My father now went ahead and talked to one of my mom's uncle, the old man there. The man had this harmonium organ. You know this harmonium organ? Yes. It's actually real organ, that's the name. They now approach him and say, Uncle Ejo, loan us this thing. Your boy at home. That we don't understand it. Please just loan us for a short time, we return it. They brought that thing to our house. It's around December 84, January 85. The moment that thing entered our house, my life changed. Things like play and food that were on the top of they just went down. In fact, by the time I pounced on it, my parents said, wait, this is too much. You won't eat again. No. Only on weekends. Only on weekends. You can't touch this thing. You don't do anything again. Don't even play. Don't do anything. No. This is too much. So, I'm saying all this because when I look at, compare that time to now, I said, sincerely, today, I really, there's no excuse anyone can tell me that I will take for not growing. There are resources. Look around you. Make the best use of them. Take advantage of the resources. What about people that say, well, you know what, I want to grow, I want to develop, I wish I can grow, I want to increase, I want to better, I want to take advantage of the resources around. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.